in the middle of a conversation about getting organized. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. If you can just make sure that you see it, you should see some penguins right now, hopefully in the background. If you don't, let me know. But we're in the middle of our Get Organized series. And what we've been talking about since the beginning of March is ways that you can reduce or eliminate some of the chaos that you might be feeling in certain aspects of your business. Not necessarily that how to be a master in accounting or how to be a master, as we're going to talk about today, in social media, like how those platforms work. But it's about finding opportunity in the way you're running your business currently to be more organized and purposeful in your activity to, again, ultimately reduce your stress level, feel more organized and together mentally, and then therefore get the mental benefit of that and the physical benefit too, right? So we started out this conversation, if you go back to the beginning of March, we really started from basics, getting into time management, being able to run a digital calendar, organize your time so that you start each day with a plan and you can end each day and reflect and hopefully feel like you've had success in your day, that you've had accomplishment in your day, right? Instead of feeling like the day took you over or the day slayed you, you want to feel the opposite, right? That you slayed the day. That's where we started. And we've been layering on from there. The last couple of weeks, we really zoned in on a really critical component of our business, right? And that's marketing. We took a look at, some basic marketing activities, how purposeful and organized you are. We really dug in last week to social media, open houses, and ways that you could bring process and bring organization to one of the most sort of basic activities of a real estate agent, right? Is organizing, conducting, and then following up on open houses, getting homes sold. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit and get into a space that I know a lot of us might find a little challenging, right? And that's social media. And here's the thing. This is where I want to give full disclosure, because from where I sit, when we came up with this content in March and April, the whole Get Organized series came from a place of personal need for me, that I felt like parts of my world were too chaotic, too disorganized, and not purposeful enough, that I felt like too many days I was chalking it up to, holy cow, I really flew by the seat of my pants today. And so I felt like I needed to get a handle on that. Social media in particular. So a lot of what we're talking about today, full disclosure, has been a huge help to me to bring process to my world and to bring accountability, organization, understanding to my world, to start to get some consistency, to get some traction, to feel like this isn't that elephant in the room for me. So our goal today is to get you started in that space, to give you some food for thought around social media. What are you doing in your business with social media today? And how might you get started with process, with organization? And then we're going to continue to expand on that next week. While I'm here just sort of talking about what's to come, I'm going to make mention of the fact that going into May, our goal is to really bring in experts. So just like in February, where we brought in experts in the investor space, whether you wanted to work with investor clients or become an investor in real estate, we brought in other voices, right? People who walk that walk and could give you real world advice on how to implement certain things in your business. We're going to do the same thing in May, all around the digital space. So things like understanding the algorithms behind platforms like Facebook and Instagram, understanding the importance and how to manage SEO, just search engine optimization, how to really get into the nitty gritty of technology. If there are things that you've always wanted to understand or at least get a handle on, we're going to bring in experts to help guide us on that. So full disclosure, where we are today, this is not that class. I'm not going to teach you how Facebook works today. We're not going to go over how Instagram works. But what we're going to talk about today is specifically from the perspective of organization. if you don't have a process right now, what are some of the things that we can do together? What can we commit to today that we can gain some traction here, establish some consistency, and start to see the benefit of these platforms in our business? Okay. So before we talk about the platforms that we're actually going to sort of encompass in our talks, we always like to start these organized sessions with some food for thought, right? And these are things that you should just be asking yourself, questioning yourself. If you want to jump in and give your answers out loud, feel free, but there's no requirement. First of all, how much time are you spending scrolling through social media, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? Those are the obviously the most common. Some people are also very active viewers and readers of content on Twitter, on LinkedIn. But then on the flip side of that, in those same channels, how much time are you spending posting? And make sure in your mind you're differentiating between personal and business, because there's definitely a difference. Most of us have both personal and business accounts. And so think about, in particular, your business accounts. How purposeful are you in the amount of time you're spending there to post content and to reach followers, grow followers, and gain visibility for you and your business. And then one more thing. Do you think you approach social media with intention? Is social media something that you do at the end of the day to disconnect from everything that went on in your day? Do you find yourself going down the rabbit hole of reels and video clips and realize that you've suddenly lost 45 minutes of your life that you wish you could get back? Or do you take some of that time every day and really approach it as part of your business plan and part of your business activity? Okay. All right, so here's the platforms that we're going to concentrate on today, at least to start. And really, we're going to start with the basics. So I'm even going to sort of zone in a little bit further and say where we're really going to concentrate maybe is on Facebook and Instagram, sort of from that perspective, only because those are clearly the most commonly leveraged platforms, the ones we're, I think, most familiar with as a group. So we're going to start there. I'm throwing KV Core in this group of 6 because there are a couple of things in KV Core that are really valuable that we forget exist. And that's the opportunity to manage a blog post and also the opportunity to collect and publish testimonials. Okay, so those 2 things I wanted to make sure that we included here, because not only are they important components of your overall digital footprint if you choose to leverage them, but you could be taking the same information that you're pushing out in a blog post or that you're gathering in testimonials and move that into a social media post as well. Okay. So, but again, we're going to primarily just take a look at Facebook and Instagram. In looking at those 6 for each of you, and this is where I would love feedback if you feel like you're on the same page. As with every week that we've talked about, I never say take every single platform, take every single technology recommendation, take every single bullet point and go back and implement it in your business. We're independent contractors. You are an entrepreneur. You guide your ship. So you have to decide which of these things might have any relevance or value in your business. It's not for me to decide. Having said that, I think in all of the content that we've brought over these last 7-8 weeks, each of you can find at least 1 or 2 nuggets that do provide relevance, that will be positively impactful to your business. This is no different right now. So if you looked at those 6 and you had to choose maybe 2 or 3 that you could consistently commit to working, okay? Which of those would you choose? And I'm curious if you want to throw it in the chat or if you want to unmute yourself. I would love to hear if you're on the same page in the mindset of, okay, let's start with Facebook and Instagram.
Definitely Facebook or Instagram.
Thank you, Trish. Good.
And
Good morning,
possibly
Sarah.
TikTok.
TikTok, okay. I appreciate TikTok. Instagram,
Deanna,
Facebook. Thank you,
I
Sarah.
would
Hi,
love to
Jenny.
tackle, hi, I would love to also tackle Instagram and Facebook and be more consistent.
Awesome. So I think where we're starting today is definitely, we're kind of on the same page. Let's talk about how we begin to build a process around Facebook and Instagram, keeping in mind some of those things that go on with KV Core, but then recognizing that if we tried to take in LinkedIn and TikTok and Twitter, and certainly with TikTok, you're talking about stepping into sort of the deep end of the pool, right? Getting even more into video, then you really are going off the diving board, right? I'm just trying to take you one step at a time into what a lot of us feel like is kind of a shock pool. It's a big part of our marketing opportunity, but also can be very daunting. So let's just take it one step at a time and make sure that we build something that we can be consistent about. I can't emphasize that enough, how important it is that whatever you build up to, you stay consistent with. Okay? Let's talk about what that means to be consistent. There's a couple of things we have to look at. First, we want to understand rules of thumb in the industry. When you have to be consistent on, say, Facebook or Instagram, what are sort of the industry standards? What are the recommendations that are out there? And again, I'm not looking to educate on algorithms and on why Facebook is 1 to 2 posts a day versus Instagram that's only 1. We're going to bring in experts that are really going to help us break that apart. But let's just assume that this information is reliable. And so Facebook, can you plan to consistently post 1 to 2 times a day? Same thing with Instagram. The ideal for Instagram is 1 post a day plus stories and reels. We're not going to get into stories and reels today. We're going to leave that more for our next week conversation. So we'll concentrate on the idea of 1 post. What's great about Facebook and Instagram is that you have the ability to link those two together. So if you have a business page on Facebook and you have an Instagram presence for your business as well, you can link them so that we can come up with 1 post per day, and we can make sure that it gets pushed out to both platforms simultaneously. Okay, so here's where we're talking about organization and process and understanding technology and all of that. Why do double the work? Let's start with these 2 platforms and find a way to get a 2-for-1 with our posting activity. The other thing that we want to understand for rules of thumb is what we should be doing in terms of content. Now, again, this is not a class today on how you develop your social media content. This is not about your marketing strategy or what makes content effective versus not. But what we're just talking about is giving you a guideline so that as you implement a process and you come up with your, let's say, 1 post per day, keep this in mind. And you should choose one of these. They're all pretty similar. But if you do a lot of sort of outside reading, you're going to see these referenced a lot, either 4-1-1, 70-20-10, or the rule of thirds. 4-1-1, you have 4 posts that are sort of educational or maybe fun and lighthearted. Maybe they're photos. Maybe it's you educating on real estate. Maybe it's you poking fun at real estate, whatever your vibe is. 1 share, which means you're leveraging someone else's content, and then 1 promotional, where you're very specifically letting the public know that you are looking for their business. Okay, whether it's new listings, new buyers, attracting people to an open house, those things I would all describe as promotional. 70-20-10, very similar concept. How much of your content is original? That's in this case 70%. Leaning 20% into shares, 10% promotional, and finally the rule of thirds. So those are basically, you're looking at buckets. How much of your content is coming from you? How much are you leveraging other sources? So whether it's other agents, businesses, vendors that you're following, that you're then sharing their posts on your page. That would be curated content, pulling in experts, pulling in outside resources versus content that you create versus, again, promotional. We're talking about, places and ways where you're very specifically asking for business. So take a look at that and think about that, because I think part of the reason that we hesitate here, because one post a day, I'm like, yeah, I think I can do that, right? That's not asking too much of me. It's not a post an hour. It's a post every 24 hours. That's manageable. This is where we all get hung up. Okay. This is, I think, where we don't want to, step down to the next step, either because we suddenly our minds go blank and we don't know where to go for the content, or maybe we feel too vulnerable in putting the content out there. Maybe the idea of video completely shies us off. But the point is that you just have to come up with one post a day. So what are some strategies that we're going to lean into trying to get more organized? First of all, we need to build this activity into our schedule. You have to give yourself time to think about and brainstorm on social media, to really think about your overall marketing, your overall approach to business, who you are as a person, what things appeal to you. If you have sort of quiet space to think through all of those things, it's really going to aid in your ability to more effectively come up with a social media strategy. Okay. If you don't like any of this sort of the idea of anything having to do with social media, whether it's creating the post, designing the post, coming up with the content, and actually physically posting it to social media, if all those things are like a complete 0 on your scale of 1 to 10 activities, then you should be thinking about maybe how your budget can take on a social media support person, or a marketing support person, maybe a virtual assistant. But the idea is that it has to get built into your business somewhere. So whether it's you and your elbow grease into your dollar budget, paying someone else, or some balance between the two. But again, this is a tip on how you make this part of your process and get yourself organized around it. Scheduling your posts in advance, that's a huge one, because the more you can do ahead of time, the more likely you are to be consistent. If I wake up today and I still have to come up with my post for today, there are plenty of days, and I know it happens to you because it happens to me, that by 10 o'clock, it's pretty clear that what I had hoped today would look like is not what my day will actually look like. And if I'm reliant on myself in that day to come up with that day's content, design it, and post it, I will fall off the consistency wagon super quick. But if I can start to design posts in advance and ramp up, and maybe even as my creative juices get going, have a couple of posts sort of in my back pocket that aren't maybe time specific, that can be used on days where I can't come up with content or where I've been completely derailed, then that's the idea, is that I'm taking the sense of urgency and anxiety out of the process in order to make it feel that I'm more on top of it and that it flows more smoothly. And the whole point is we want to make sure that we've got our post every single day. If you're struggling with what your vision should look like, what your brand is, right? What you want your content to sort of, what vibe you want it to follow, I always encourage, and I do this also because I do a lot of newsletters. So for both my client newsletters and my team newsletters, I create separate folders in my email where if I see something come in, but I maybe don't have time to read it right now, or I want to go back and absorb it later, I just drop that email or that content into a folder specifically for those purposes, so that I'm not like, oh, who is that email from? Did I get it last week or the week before? I'm just going to go right to that folder when it's time for me to, again, either get my creative ideas flowing, or I'm struggling to come up with content. I have a place to go. Okay. Testimonials. If you're struggling with coming up with content, there are several agents that I follow that I think do a tremendous job on collecting testimonials about the service they provide to their clients. If you're in a habit of collecting testimonials at the conclusion of every transaction, you should be leveraging that in multiple ways. not only putting it on your Google business page, not only putting it on your website testimonials, but also pushing that out on social media as well. That's instant content, right? That you don't really, all you have to do is sort of copy and paste into a template there to make it work for you. Maintain your brand consistency. We talked a little bit about this last week when we were talking about marketing, how important it is that as you come up with what your brand, whether you have a logo or don't have a logo, it's not so much just the logo, but it's about your whole color scheme. It's about the photos that you use, the photos of yourself, your headshots that you use between your website, your business card, your, lawn signs. You want consistency to the point where the general public will begin to recognize you the same way that they recognize the Nike swoosh or the McDonald's arches, right? The idea is that when you see it in multiple places and you see it consistently presented the same way, it makes the connection in your mind, even if it's subconscious. That's what you're trying to do as you layer in social media into your overall business marketing. The other huge tip, give yourself a time limit. If you leave this as an open-ended activity every day, two things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to spend way more time on this, and other activities that need your attention won't get them. And number two, you will end up going down the rabbit hole of consuming other people's content instead of creating your own. So put some parameters around it. Set a time limit. It helps you stay purposeful and productive when it comes to your social media posts. Okay, the one thing that I wanted to share, which I think is a great idea, and I have one that I can show you. And if you can't see it, let me know. This is a social media calendar. And this is in Excel form. You can easily take this and import it into like a Google Sheets form. But I think it's a great thing to have, whether you, and I encourage you, if you're going paperless, right, you can keep a digital copy of this, or if you feel more comfortable, this is something that carries 2 weeks at a time and looks at those same 6 platforms that we just talked about. But if you're trying to get ahead and you're trying to plan and bring intention to your social media posts, a calendar like this is a great way to do it. Does anybody leverage any type of social media calendar, or do you do anything even along these lines of sort of planning ahead with your posting? I'm curious to know. Sarah loves TikTok. Anybody? So I'll take that as a no. So that means that there's opportunity here for each of us, right? To, again, start to think ahead to what we want our content to be. In my case, when I tell you that these classes and this opportunity to get organized, that I'm taking that challenge on myself, what I really want to focus on and what I've tried to start doing is establishing a voice for my team and ways that we can uniquely and sort of in a warm and special way acknowledge what our team is doing. I want to make sure that in my plan that I'm bringing intention to that I'm not only sharing all of the amazing things that are happening from different teammates, from different team members, but that I'm also taking this as an opportunity to talk about our team and the opportunity that somebody on the outside might see coming into our team or into the EXP brokerage. So with that in mind, when I take a calendar, again, I'm bringing purpose to it so that if I have, 3 or 4 dozen team members, I want to make sure that I'm highlighting all of those team members in different ways for all the superhero capes that they wear. This will help me organize that. This will help me make sure that I reach as many agents as possible. It will help me make sure that I'm not duplicating my effort. Maybe you're in a place where it helps you from a content standpoint to come up with a theme. So just like dinners might be like, Taco Tuesday or Pizza Friday, you can have a different theme every day of the week that addresses what your social media content or post will be. Maybe one day of the week you reserve, Tuesday testimonial. And so every Tuesday you go out and post a testimonial. And if you don't have a client testimonial, don't stop there. Go to a vendor that you've worked with in a transaction, go to a mortgage lender, go to an inspector, go to a co-op agent. Think about other agents that you've worked with, other agents that you've maybe done training with or accountability with or coaching with, and solicit testimonials that way. There's so many places that you can go to get content that are beyond just the obvious. So open yourself up to that. And again, that goes back to find a quiet place to brainstorm and get your creative juices flowing. But I think if you're struggling with, what you're going to post every day, start there. Okay. And then the other thing too, that I think having a calendar like this does is it sort of puts it at the top of your mind. Because one of the things that I feel like I'm guilty of is that after something happens, like after the event is over, after the celebration is over, whatever the case, then I'm like, oh God, I should have taken pictures, should have captured that moment, right? But was just so in the moment that it wasn't automatic to me to pull out my camera and capture it. Very different for me. I sit with my kids and they capture, I think it's every 7 or 8 minutes of their life on Snapchat. So a totally different mindset. I think that's an age issue. I'm not sure for me, but it's this calendar and having sort of the ability to track and plan ahead, I think will also help me begin to look at certain parts of my day in a way that lend better to, let me capture this moment. So, hey, I'm sitting, hanging out with a few agents and we started brainstorming on the open house content from last week. Let me take a picture of that we can share. I've gone out and started soliciting information because I know that there's all these great stories happening that I just don't know about. So I'm proactively now trying to get that information because I've got this calendar in mind. So this is something that I encourage you to consider, pulling into your business in some way, shape, or form to be able to start to plan out what your content is going to look like. Okay. The other thing that I want to talk about before we talk about where you can go with some of your on-demand resources is I want to spend a little bit of time just exploring Facebook and Instagram. And again, full disclosure, I'm dipping my toe. I'm on the top step. So I'm right there with you. If this is something that you're doing from ground zero, this is something that I'm doing from ground zero too. 6 or 9 months ago, from a team standpoint, I went the route of paying an outside company to be able to manage this. Quite frankly, my frustration was that I felt like it wasn't capturing us in any way. It just felt like such a vanilla ice cream cone to me. And I'm just such not a vanilla girl. I like flavor and variety and taste. And so that's sort of been going through and preparing for these training sessions has been what I've started to think about is, how can I get away from vanilla and make it personal? And like I said, warm and inviting so that people sort of feel the warm and fuzzy that we're sort of going after. Take a look on your own social media at the people that you follow. And I've said this a few times with different agents. Look at the people that you follow. And I'm not just talking about real estate. In fact, most of the times I would say, don't even think about the agents that you follow just yet. First, think about the content that's not business related that you follow and write down why that content appeals to you. Either because it's teaching you something, because you find the presenter or the content funny. And this will go more towards video too when we get into it next week. But think about what's appealing to you, because what appeals to you is going to be, you're going to have that in common with a lot of the general public and what might appeal to them. There's content out there for everybody, and you can be content for people as well, very effectively. But just think about where you're comfortable and what you like. That's where you start. When you get into your Facebook page, make sure that you are managing it from the Meta Business Suite. What's really cool about Meta Business Suite is that if you go in here, so I'm right now logged into my Facebook I'm on my business page. Okay. Make sure that you have admin rights in your page, or if you're paying somebody else to have admin rights to your page, that all of those permissions are properly set up. Okay. But what I really love is the planner. So, and Jeff, you're here. So, you'll have the benefit of seeing how the planner has started to work for me. So, I started coming up over the last maybe week or 10 days with what some of the concepts might look like, what some of the colors and, like I said, branding, the overall vibe of what some of the posts would look like. I'm using Canva, something we talked about last week. Low cost to no cost, really easy to learn. And I'm having fun playing with it. So for all those reasons, I don't feel intimidated using it. The more I spend time in it, the faster I'm getting with it. So I'm using Canva to create posts. We're not talking about video right now, but what you can do from the planner in the Meta Business Suite is you can plan in advance what your posts are going to be, and you can even set them up for time of day. So today's post is going to be Anixa's post will be hitting the presses at 6:00 tonight. I also have 2 or 3 other posts that I'm working on that I expect to have done by the end of the day, so that by the time my head hits the pillow today, I'm going to have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday done. I'm not a full week ahead right now, but again, at least let me get a couple days ahead so that I don't feel like I've fallen off the wagon, so to speak, if I miss a day, right? That I'm covered and I've given myself breathing room to get caught up. So absolutely use the planner. The other thing that you want to do when you're creating your post, okay, so if you come up here from the Meta Business page and create your post, you want to make sure that you've gone ahead and linked your Instagram account to your Facebook account. So remember, we said you can get 2 for 1 with your post. And the way that you'll do that is you'll come into your Facebook account. You'll have to link your Instagram account, which will require you to sign in with your Instagram credentials. And then when you go to post, you'll see that you have the opportunity to connect both of these platforms at one time. So you can check them off. So right now I'm actually, and this all uncovered as part of this training, as well as because I was paying an outside vendor, I'm having issues getting access to my Connection Realtors Instagram account. So I'm in the process of resolving that. So just by you starting this process, you'll start to figure out what are the pieces that you need to get into place so that you can then get into a groove and get into a system, right? Get the components all lined up so the system can sort of take over. You can spend a little bit of time every day driving your content and then let the technology do the rest to get it pushed out for you and get you in front of clients, friends and family, and potentially other agents that might want to work with you or get to know you and your business. Okay. So let's go back to the slides. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, let me see. Rochelle. Oh, here. Oh, Rochelle, I love what so Rochelle had a great plan with your calendar. So I love this. So Monday was inspiration. Tuesday, you would give a tip. Was that a real estate tip, Rochelle? I would love to know. Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday tip and what's this Wednesday? I would love to know a little bit more about what those are. Thursday, featuring a new listing or an open house. That's great. We're going to talk about that in a second. Friday, so something fun and whimsical, right? And then Saturday, weekend showings. So again, capturing the moments. Are you there, Rochelle?
Yeah. Hear me?
Yes. Yep. So Tuesday tip, what would that be?
Tip was like I try like want more buyer, sell it like a home, carbon, something.
I lost you a little bit. So it sounds like something home related, maybe some sort of tip or tidbit that relates to either maybe home ownership or buying or selling a home. And then what's this Wednesday?
There?
Well, you're coming in and out.
Hello. Sorry.
There you go.
At home. So connection for some reason. Wednesday, I liked Wednesdays because
We lost it again.
you know what, oh no, I'll put it in the chat.
That would be perfect. That would be perfect. Just when we heard you like what's this Wednesday because, and then it was kind of like the cliffhanger. That'd be great if you can drop it in the chat because I'm curious about that because this could be great. Again, if you struggle, if content is where you sort of put the brakes on, hearing what somebody else does could be really just sort of helpful and a place for you to get started. We're here to build the framework so that you can get consistent, one post a day on these resources. The other thing, Sarah, I had a question for you. You mentioned you use Google Calendar.
Hi, Deanna.
Hi, do you keep track of your social media posting on Google Calendar?
Actually, no, I'm spontaneous, but I always have so much to post. Like if I'm reading a book, I'll post a picture of my book, or if there is like a really good paragraph in the book, I'll just highlight it and I post that. Food, my cat, everything goes on my story.
So when I told you that I'm a person who always regrets not capturing the moment, I think you're the
Just
exact
take me with
opposite
you.
of that. Yeah. Yeah. Clearly you have, you are definitely, that's sort of clearly more instinctual for you, right? To be able to capture moments and share them. So the only thing that you might be challenged by is how are you bringing intention to the content that you post that you're always driving it back to real estate. In your case, I definitely think that you do. And I think you have a great balance. So if anybody's unsure of how to get started, take a look at Sarah's either Facebook or Instagram, because you'll get some really good inspiration there for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank
I
you.
also have TikTok and I do fun stuff on TikTok as well.
TikTok. And so that's something that we'll definitely appreciate your feedback and your recommendations next week too. Okay. Oh, so this is cool.
I actually, Diana,
Okay. Yeah.
if you want, I have my best friend actually. She's really popular on TikTok. She has 500,000 followers within only 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
she's
Influencer?
yeah. If you we can have her, for less, whatever you want.
That would be awesome. That would be really terrific because we're definitely trying to, like I said, trying to bring some really incredible voices to that May and it might even potentially spill into June training. So yeah, I'm always excited to have people referred in. So please send me that name. So Rochelle, thank you so much for clarifying what's this Wednesday, showing a photo of something that people might not know what it is, like a sewer scope, which is really cool. Because if you think about it, a lot of the content that I follow, two of the big things that I find on my feeds, because of how much I consume food content. And one of my favorite food posters is somebody who she's always showing me new tools in the kitchen that I either didn't know existed or never knew how they worked. Or she's showing me how to best do certain things with those tools in the kitchen. So I love it that you've related that to real estate. And the same thing with, I like to watch a lot of people that take salvageable furniture and turn it into like beautiful, brand new pieces of art, essentially, that you're putting in your home. So again, seeing how tools are used and how you might tackle that kind of project, that's delivering value to someone. So think about different things in your life, in your business that most people don't understand or don't know about. What is a home inspection? Taking footage or photos from a home inspection or with a vendor or going out for an appraisal, taking pictures and showing, components of a property that might impact the appraisal's thought process and valuation. Those are all things that can be really meaningful to the general public. It's just about in the moment, having the instinct that this is a capturable moment, and then having the intention to turn that into a post that helps you gain traction for your business. Okay. And let's not forget, if any of you, just as an aside, follow my husband on social media, you can even make your coffee cup collection content. Okay. So there's really, if you're at a loss, you really shouldn't be. It's just you're at a loss because you're putting certain boundaries in your mind as to what you think is and is not acceptable content. So just open yourself up to those creative juices. Along those lines, let's take a look at where you can go and pull up resources. If you want to do like what I did in the Canva platform, let me show you that again. So there's a lot of things that I do in Canva for both Wellness Edge, for Leaders Edge, for I'm starting to build for the team. So here's one that we have for Wellness Edge that's going to get posted this week for this Friday. So if you're interested to know what we're going to talk about on Friday, this is great. We're going to have Monica Braun Friday morning, and I'm so excited to have her. But this is something that once I sort of came up with the image for the first Wellness Edge, and I pulled in I tried to be consistent and similar with some of the components of the Leaders Edge branding, but also wanted it to feel a little bit different and really give the vibe of wellness, maybe more spa-like, where a lot of the Leaders Edge content that you see from a branding standpoint is maybe sort of bold and crisp, and think of like a well-tailored suit, if you will. I wanted Wellness Edge to feel more warm and soft and like I said, spa-like. Okay. But where there were comparatives too, where there were things that tied them together. But once I created that initial look, that gave me a starting point so that every week I'm not recreating or reinventing the wheel. I'm just moving a few things around, throwing in pertinent details of what changed from last week to this week, and I'm ready to go with the post. And this is great because this was done yesterday, Tuesday, and I'm already ready to go for Friday. So that's part of the goal. You know, when you get to Wednesday and Thursday, last week I was completely stressed out because we had a problem with a speaker and things fell apart. And here it is Thursday, and I feel like I've gone through the Rolodex and couldn't pull a plan B together. Right. So that's what you want to avoid when you're trying to feel more organized, is the scramble. Okay. So play around with Canva. There's so many fun things that you can do to find templates to work from. So even if you were, let's say I wanted to come up with something new in Canva, and I wanted to create a design, and let's say I was going to create a Facebook post. So you can even tie your Facebook to your Canva account and push your post out directly from Canva. Like I said, I like to go into the business suite, the Meta Business Suite, and post there because I like to be able to plan in advance and schedule the dates and times of the posts. But if you'll take a look, let's say, I don't know, what do I want to post about today? Let's say open house flyer. Now, all I did was type open house flyer, and now suddenly Canva is giving me a ton of presets that I can work from and edit from a content standpoint to reflect my own brand or advertising if I wanted to go that route. Let's say you had like a do-it-yourself, or maybe like, let's see, with Rochelle. What's this? Let's see what happens. Okay, so now take a look. Again, all I did was take an idea that Rochelle had for what's this Wednesday. So we can take any of these templates. Let's just take this one, pull it into Canva, and then I can start to move things around. I can change the verbiage. So if I didn't want to say what's new on this week, I can just say, what's this? Or I can change it to what's this Wednesday. That's how easy Canva can be. And then you can take this post, you can add verbiage, you can add photos. So if it's a tool that she wanted to incorporate a picture of, she could do that. She could tie in a video link to her post. She could add verbiage to her post actually on Facebook. But look how easy it was to start a graphic. It wasn't having to work from an absolute blank canvas. Canva stepped in and gave me so many ideas to pull from. So this is something that you can absolutely leverage if you're looking to find that sort of look and feel that you want to, have some consistency from week to week in what you're posting. Okay. The other thing too is go to the marketing center. If you're an EXP agent and you have access to the marketing center, there's a ton of content there, social media content that you can leverage and build from. Okay, so don't forget that that exists. If you are struggling to find something, or if you don't have a picture to pull from, then definitely leverage the Marketing Center and Canva. I love with Rochelle, where one of the things that she does is she takes inspiration on Mondays. So Monday doesn't have to be necessarily about you going out into the world and having a photo or having a personal experience to share, but it can just be about finding that sort of inspiration that not only maybe gets your week started, but it's going to help somebody else get their week started too. Easy to copy and paste into Canva and push out a post. There you go. There's your content for the day. Okay. Remember your testimonials. That's a gem of content that I don't think we're doing a sufficient job soliciting and then sharing. Part of the reason that the whole reason that you want testimonials, or at least most of it, right? Yes, it's good to have that personal validation and feedback after a transaction concludes or after a relationship sort of comes full circle. But beyond that, it's not just for your own personal gratification. It's to share with other people what that experience was like in the hope of getting the next client or building the next relationship. So where are you taking that information and pushing it out to the public? Don't just let it sit on your website and have it be there and only there. Don't just let it sit on your Google business page and have it be there and only there. This is going to become your social media content as well. And remember, think about ways that you can capture your day, whether it be from an educational standpoint, when you're out at that inspection or you're out at the appraisal, either taking a photo or taking a 10-second clip or asking the inspector even to explain something really quick. So many vendors are really happy to jump into your content and get tagged because they're getting free press, and because they're happy to educate the public and build their own brand at the same time, sort of on your dime, which doesn't even cost anybody anything, but through your effort and intention. So take advantage of that too. If you're standing in line at the grocery store and you're completely stressed out because it's taking you way too long to check out and you're trying to, sign contracts and answer client questions and schedule an open house and, blah, 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 right? The list goes on. And maybe in that moment you're feeling completely crazed. And maybe you take a picture of the shopping cart and you post it and talk about how, today is one of those days where it's just not going the way that it was supposed to. Again, that's content that people can relate to. And depending on how that measures up against your business, your overall, how you run your business, the type of entrepreneur you are, just think about that. Be more open-minded. Shared content. Think about who you follow, the content that you enjoy consuming, and content that aligns well with your brand. It doesn't have to match your brand. It should just sort of align and maybe fit like a puzzle. So maybe it's another real estate agent, but maybe more likely it's going to be a vendor or another resource, a mortgage lender that you partner with, where you can easily share their content to your social media. And again, that should cover 1 to 2 of your posts every week. And then finally, with your promotional content, easily can advertise upcoming open houses, easily boost and advertise other agents' listings within EXP. Remember that the listings are owned by the brokerage, not by the agent. But it is good business practice to reach out to the agent and let them know that you would like to advertise their listing on your social media account. So whether you're doing, maybe you're highlighting a particular town for the weekend. Maybe you look at the open houses in your MLS and you find, oh, wow, Gloucester Township's going to be hot and heavy this weekend with open houses. Or maybe Red Bank is going to be, have some good ones. You can just highlight that town, what's going on in that town. If there's an upcoming community event, maybe at the same time that you're posting about an open house, you're mentioning, head out to the open house and then pop on over to Red Bank Day, which I think was actually a thing recently. So there are things that you can do to engage the public, and just, again, one post a day. That's your goal, one post a day. Business minded, right? So in the back of your mind, you are thinking about how that activity is going to keep you top of mind with the people who follow you and to potentially get you new followers to help your business. It's not just about posting coffee cup for the sake of the coffee cup, right? You want to sort of make that connection in your mind of how one thing can lead to another, and then come up with your daily post. Okay. How do you connect Instagram to Facebook? I've done this, Inez. I'm going to make an effort to show you on the fly. You have to, if you go to your page, so I'm in the business suite right now. I want to get back to my page. Let me close. I'm going to see if I can show you how to do this. Okay, so here I am. I'm on Facebook. I'm not in the business suite. And you want to go down to when you click on the page. So I was on the home screen. I want to click on the page screen. So you go to your business page, and then you're going to go to your settings. And then once you go to settings, this is where you want to go and find linked accounts. Okay. So from here, this is where you would go ahead and, in my case, like I said before, I'm having an issue. But if you go to linked accounts, if you've never linked the two before, this is where you would go to set it up. And you will need both your user handle or the email account that's associated with your Instagram and your password, because you will need to log in. And you will want to make sure that your permissions, so if you had like an outside company, which was my issue, working in your account, permissions can get in the way of those successfully linking, but it's something that can easily be worked out, which I'm in the process of doing. So no worries on that. If you're having any trouble specifically, I'm happy to help you work through those details again. So just one more time with the path, I went from a homepage when I logged in, I went to my Facebook business page, down to settings, and to linked accounts. Okay. All right, great. Oh, good. Tell Laura, thank you for passing that along. Okay, so here's the deal. We're coming up on 11 o'clock. So we've talked about some things today about bringing organization and process to our social media posts. A few of you said, yes, let's start with Facebook and Instagram. I'm good with that. And I'm not even talking about video content right now. I'm not even trying to push you all the way into the pool. We're just talking about let's commit. You and I, because I need it as much as, maybe some of you that are here are craving it. The accountability to say 7 days from now, I want to be able to look back and see that I met the challenge, that I posted something every day, and that I'm on track to do the same thing for the next 7 days, so that when we convene on the 26th, you'll feel like you've taken something from today and you've put it into play in your business. Okay. And you're leveraging some of the skills that we've talked about all along. Time management, right? Managing your calendar, getting important activities on your schedule, moving more towards digital in your business, leveraging low cost and no cost technology, and then marketing. Here you have social media, which is such a huge component of the way that the world consumes information today. And so much of it is free and readily accessible to you to leverage, not just to receive the content, but to give it. So let's do a better job of embracing this resource for free and letting it work for us. Okay. Instead of going down the rabbit hole and discovering that you probably should have been a chef for a living because that's all you did, either that or have more babies because you've consumed so many babies and puppies in the last hour. Turn that into something more intentional that's going to work for you every single day. Okay, so I hope you're up for the challenge. I'm up for the challenge. I'm working out some bugs. I've learned some things through this whole process, and I feel like I've started to push myself towards a vision of what I want my strategy to look like. If you're not there yet, then make sure you keep tuning in on Wednesdays to continue to sort of refine or define what that strategy will look like for you. And then I hope that you'll join us too. I'm going to throw it back up here on Wednesday. Since we brought it up, we have Monica Braun again, Friday morning, and special thanks to Vicki Leach for bringing her to us. Friday morning at 9 a.m. We will hear her story on wellness. So here you go. You've got the challenge. Start your 7 days. Find me, find my business page on Facebook, invite me to follow you. I will do the same with you. Get your posts. Come this time next Wednesday. You should have, I'm going to give you the benefit of today. So let's say you should have had at least 6 posts starting tomorrow, every day leading into next Wednesday. And let's get on track. Okay.
Hey, Deanna, I have a question for
Yes.
you.
Yes,
Let's say
please.
you make some posts in advance.
Mhm.
Can you, like say I made 7 posts.
Mhm.
I have 7 things I want to put up. Can I say, well, this one to go out Monday, this one to go out Tuesday, and put it on a
Yes.
time release?
Yes. So that's a great question. So one of the things which you couldn't see because I didn't scroll down. So here I am again. I went to Facebook and then I went to the Meta Business Suite. Okay. When you go to the Meta Business Suite, up at the top, you'll click on that button to create a post. When you create your post, you have the ability to add your photos. You can add video just the same way that you would, in the Facebook that you're used to. You could post your text same way that you're used to, tagging people, adding emojis. But then you want to scroll down a little bit because here's the one thing that you want to make sure that you see: scheduling options. You have the ability to push out that post immediately. You have the ability to schedule it, which is what we're talking about here. Or then you have the ability to save it as a draft if you're not ready to set it up to post. So let me show you, like in the planner. If I go in and click on this post that I have today, I already uploaded this post and set it up to push out at 6 o'clock tonight. So it's all set to go. So let's go back to it. Go to my planner. Here we go. So when I set this post up, I specifically added to the post the date and time that I wanted it to go out. One of the things that you can look at too, which again falls outside of the scope of our conversation today, but I think will definitely be coming up in May, is peak times. Like, what are good times for you to push out your content? You might find that certain things work for you that might not be the norm, that a so-called expert might have a different opinion on. So play around with that too. But the idea is that you're trying to get in front of people that follow you and consume your content at a time when they're most frequently online. So I think it tends to be early in the morning, maybe around the 3 or 4 o'clock hour. And then I think Saturday mornings. That's just me just hearing from other people, not having any like definitive information that I can give you, but that's a very easy thing to do. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Trish. So give that a try. And so the idea is that if you can sit down even in one session and be fortunate enough to brainstorm out 5 or 6 or 7 posts, yes, as long as you're working from the business suite, you can go in and create your posts and give them the dates. And then when you go back to your planner, you will see that all of those posts are set up to be released. Do you push your posts out to communities or just keep everything? That's a really good question.
Thanks, Deanna.
Yeah, sure thing, Trish. So Rochelle is asking about pushing posts out to communities. So this is where I think share becomes really important. And this is where actually people like Jean and Christian have done a good job of pushing me a little bit in this space, because I think it is important to be sharing your content to other pages and for you to be sharing to your page as well. So like with us, with Leaders Edge and with our teams going back and forth. But definitely the one thing that you want to think about with your business is there, and this is a personal preference. In my mind, there's no right or wrong answer to this, but some people, the reason that you have a business page on Facebook is because you do want to have maybe some separation between your personal life and maybe your personal content and your public facing business content. And sometimes you might want to be able to share things and post things over to your personal account, but sometimes you may not want to. So I think that that's a personal question, Rochelle, of whether you want to move things out beyond just your business page or the groups that you're a part of. One thing that I am interested in that I think I will pursue, not yet, because my job right now, as far as I'm concerned, is to develop consistency around my process. But once I get to the point where I feel like I've started to clearly establish the voice and the look and feel, my next step is going to be to go ahead and invest in boosting my content. So we'll see how that goes. And that could probably be a whole other class. And that might be something we have to do together. Okay. All right. So you have your challenge, everybody. So get to it. If you are not purposeful in your social media presence, we're going to take the next 7 days to change that. Take some of the information from today, commit to one post a day, think about your content, maybe jump into the Marketing Center or Canva to help you frame that content, leverage inspiration like Rochelle does, leverage testimonials, leverage other listings and open houses. Right there, I've given you 4 pieces of content that should be at your fingertips without you really having to think very hard. Okay. So you just have to come up with the other 3 days. And I guarantee you, if you really thought about what you do from sun up to sundown, that content's going to drop in your lap. So come up with 7 days of content, find me and tag me on these platforms. Find me Connection Realtors so that you can see what I'm doing and I can see what you're doing. And then let's talk about it next week. And then we're going to talk about how you, again, in easy ways. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to become necessarily experts in social media, but we're going to start to talk a little bit about how you incorporate video into your strategy, okay, into your process. So everybody have a great week. Get to it. And I'm going to be looking for you on Facebook. All right. Thank you so much. Hope you got something out of today.
Yes. Thank you, Deanna. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.